You're listening to KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine.
The opinions and views expressed in this program do not reflect those of KUCI, its management, or the UC Board of Regents. To find out more about this talk show or other talk shows broadcasting on KUCI, log on to our website at kuci.org or check out the latest program guide.
This is Ashton Marcus, and I'm on location at the Lounge Theater for the world premiere of Mayakovsky and Stalin.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with...
I'm Murray Mednick. I'm a playwright. Mayakovsky and Stalin.
So, question, why did you decide to write this piece?
I didn't. I just wrote it for no reason.
Well, I don't know why you wrote it, but this was fantastic. I love this piece. I mean, it was so intellectually stimulating. It drove so much emotion. It was so artistic. It was beautiful.
Well, thank you very much.
Do you think this has anything to say about modern times?
Oh, sure. I hope so.
Yeah. I was surprised at how intellectual they were in the 1920s. It was almost like it happened right now, maybe in the 60s, or even right now today.
Oh, yeah. They had intellectuals then, just like we have now. Human beings have intellectuals among them.
Well, I really love the performance. You did a beautiful piece of art here. I loved it.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you very much for being on the show.
You're welcome.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Maury Sterling. We're here at the premiere of our play Mayakovsky and Stalin. I play Stalin. Glad you're here. Yeah.
So, what's your take on Stalin?
Oh man, that's probably a lot more. We need more time for that one. Complicated, horrifying, insecure, charming, terrifying. Stop there, I think.
I thought it was kind of like a dark version of George Washington. You know, he had ideals. He personified an entire nation. He had a lot of flaws, because again, Washington actually had a lot of flaws. But again, I guess he wasn't as successful. His work wasn't as successful as Washington's. So people have painted him as being kind of a failure, or kind of, you know what I mean? Just not as good as Washington. Even though, I mean, Washington himself could not have helped the way that the United States turned out. You know.
Yeah, that's an interesting comparison. I also feel like what's been interesting in doing the research about Stalin is how little the West maybe knows about him in a way. We all know Hitler. We all demonize Hitler. But Stalin lasted a long time. There's still places that still revere Stalin in his way. So it's been but I think, it didn't work out in terms of, I do think the point you made, that is really interesting, and I didn't say it first, is and what I think the play is about is the power of an idea, and what a fundamentalist he was, and how he was absolutely devoted to these concepts. If they didn't work, he would just kill everyone who didn't believe in them. But it's been interesting to appreciate him, and a lot of what our director Murray and writer wanted to get at is, Murray kept saying he's a fundamentalist. He's committed to these ideas, and he combined this kind of upbringing in the church, which he then gave up for communism, but he still had this kind of godlike complex that felt very religious.
If my viewers decide to come out and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
You're going to see what I love about the play is it's a real piece of theater. Not everybody's going to love it. It's presentational, it's heady, it's interesting, but I think the language is compelling. I think the actors are all really great and have done a wonderful job of really trying to get into these historical characters and bring them to life. And you're going to see a lot of relevance in terms of what's going on in our world right now. I think in terms of politics, ideas, movements. And you'll just get a good history lesson too.
I really love the play also. I thought it was very artistic, but also it actually presented what Stalin wanted to do. I mean, it was like he had these plans. He wanted to build a new world order. He succeeded in many ways. But again, he was an imperfect person, and he dealt with things the way an imperfect person deals with things. Yeah. He basically just said, what the heck, and he just used brute force to force a square peg into a round hole.
Yeah. No, I think there's a quote I read about Stalin is if you kill a guy, then the problem's gone. So it's this ultimate sort of being willing to go that far for your cause. is what makes him so scary. But yeah, no, he absolutely believed in the ideas. I just started reading his book about dialectical materialism, and it's amazing. He looked at it like a science. For a new world to happen, you have to erase the previous one. You have to clean the slate. And, but the cost of that is inhuman in that sense. But to read it was like, wow, he really believed this stuff. So
I thought you were fantastic. Obviously, the best Stalin I've ever seen. even one of the best politicians I've seen. I don't think I've seen a politician performed as well as you performed. You were fantastic.
Oh, well, thank you, man. I really appreciate that. And it's that's been the work, is to get him, not necessarily make you want to believe in him, but make you want to believe in him. Like for the audience to have an experience of the work has been with him in the playing of it, is to not play him as the villain. Everybody knows he's the villain, so I don't need to do that, and focus more on what he was trying to convey, the things he was struggling with. No sympathy at all in terms of Stalin, but as the performance and the piece is to have that. I appreciate those words too. That's really nice of you.
What do you think of his wife? Just from your opinion, do you think she was a shrew, or was she actually really his equal?
I think it probably started off they were equals. He'd known her family for years, and known her as a child, and she matured. He would live at her family's house, so I think there was an affection there. The research I found out, she might have been bipolar. They wrote these flowery letters to each other when they were apart from each other, and when we were together, they were a nightmare. High, low, up, down, and there was something about his first wife that he never really got over, and that relationship. So, but also she was complicit. They were both communists, they were both in the cause, and she would rat out people to him. So I think it was a very complicated, was she shrewish at times? Sure. But he sounded like he was he could be a horrible pain in the ass. He was a troublemaker. He told his guards never to come into his personal chambers, faked being sick and screaming in pain. They all came in and he killed them. I mean, that's sort of who he was. He'd set you up to kill you. So being married to him probably was no field trip.
So I love the performance. Thank you very much for being on the show.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, man.
My name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Daniel Dorr. We just opened Mayakovsky and Stalin here at the Lounge Theater in Hollywood. Very proud of the piece and very proud of the cast. I think it's a very current piece that's reviving the Russian Revolution and showing how, if we're not careful, things can very easily repeat themselves in this country.
And which character did you play?
I play Mayakovsky. I think he was a very troubled, very misunderstood poet who is not as appreciated as I think he should be. He was a brilliant man who was unfortunately only able to express himself through his poetry and his verses, and hopefully doing some sort of justice and communicating that to the audience here in the show.
I loved your performance. I thought it was very passionate, very, very poetic, very driven. It was also very unflattering too, though.
It was very unflattering. Yeah, I mean, I kind of had to give myself permission just to kind of do him some justice, because I think he was a man that didn't really, not that he didn't care what people thought, I think he cared very much what people thought, but I think he only knew how to be a certain way in the world, and that was kind of without any sort of filter, Yeah.
If my viewers decide to come out and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
A very wordy, a very dense piece that has its action very much reliant on the words and on the dramas that are being explored through the characters and the language between them. It isn't a very showy play in that sense. It's a very historical, intellectual piece.
I agree. I thought it was very poetic, almost as if Mayakovsky himself could have written it.
Yes.
Yeah, it was very, again, talked about the revolution, talked about Stalin, brought a very ugly side to it, but also very truthful, very passionate, very, very realistic picture of it.
I think so too. I think it's kind of told out of time, and you kind of have the sense that you don't know what's happening, but I think it sort of captures the chaos that was happening at the time, where people were trying to make sense of all this nonsense and political revolution and social revolution, and the arts and literature were trying to catch up as things were happening. And I think that's sort of where the play hopefully lives and does justice to that time period.
Why do you think Mayakovsky's work is so universal? It's still being read right now. and still being appreciated. Why do you think that?
I think it's hard to say. I think I know that in Europe and in Russia specifically, it's very much read, and a lot of people know about it. In Russia, the children are brought up learning about it in school. They have to learn his poems. I don't know that the American audience has that much familiarity with it, not in my experience. But I think that it's incredibly relevant, and I hope that this sheds some light on the need to kind of revive his poetry and to have it read and to have people kind of be interested in who he was, because it's also very modern the way he wrote. You know, he could have been walking around Hollywood Boulevard somewhere today and he wouldn't have stood out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with it. Again, his ideas were very good. It didn't play out, by the people who tried to adapt it, didn't play out very well. Just because I don't think they were smart enough to actually adapt it correctly. Yeah. So basically, again, I love the play. I love all the actors, especially loved your acting, because again, you were playing like, you know, the lead character. He was so dark. He was so troubled, but at the same time so passionate and so intelligent and so artistic. I just love the performance.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That means a lot to me. I'm glad I did some justice to it. Thank you.
All right. Once again, I love the performance. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Laura Ligori. I'm really excited that opening night went really well.
And which character did you play?
I played Lily, or Liliana. She was an actual woman who was Mayakovsky, the poet's muse and lover. She was a feminist and a spitfire, and she was married and had a husband and a lover, and they all lived together, and she was very happy with her life, and she was the type of person you see what you get, so I love it. I love playing her.
Yeah, I love the way you played her also. She was actually a real contemporary woman. I mean, she was a woman that basically was not held by moral bounds, was artistic.
Yeah.
You know, basically she was in love with an artist, and with her husband was very practical. So again, she was a very, I would say, a 20th century woman, maybe a 21st century woman.
Yeah, she was great, and she was fearless. She was known for bringing artists together. And promoting artists. She promoted Picasso. I mean, she was all over the place, always getting people together, having parties. She was a real socialite. She didn't have to worry about money, so that was one. You know, she could really kind of do what she wants, but she did do what she wants.
If my viewers decide to come by and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
Well, unfortunately, they're going to see a lot of similarity to the time we live in now. And so they're going to be kind of shocked when you're taken back in time in this play. And then we're living in the time we're in now, and it's a kind of like really eerie experience to see how humanity kind of falls into the same cycle.
Right. Well, I look at the time, basically a majority of all philosophers had already lived by that, so a lot of the great ideas have been talked about, and this was basically, again, tremendously done. It was talked about philosophy, talked about revolution. Man was kind of experimenting with, say, a new social order, and basically, I guess they kind of, I wouldn't say they got it messed up. They were just experimenting. Things didn't work out right, and basically there was a lot of trauma, a lot of heartache, and a lot of disaster going on.
Yes, it's so important that when we see things going on that don't feel like it feels wrong, we need to speak up. We need to use our voices and stand out, and we need to do something about it. We can't just sit back and go, oh, well, it's not me or my family or my friends. You have to take action, and now is the time again that we have to do this.
I love your performance. You're fantastic.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you again.
Yeah. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with...
Hey there, I'm Max Fano. Good to meet you. We just opened Mayakovsky and Stalin here at the Lounge Theater in Hollywood. It's very exciting. Murray Mednick is a favorite playwright of mine, and it's a thrill to be able to work with him. We've got an amazing cast. Maury Sterling is Stalin, and Daniel Dorr over here is Mayakovsky. And, Murray directed it, so he's at a place in his career where it's significant to be able to get his direction, because he doesn't do it all that much. He's getting older. older, and so I feel like this is a unique opportunity in time as a performer, and certainly as an audience member. It's a unique experience. I don't know what else to say. It's been a long. A lot of work concentrated into a small amount of time, so it actually feels longer than it's been, and we're just really happy to move on into the performances, and we hope people will come and join us.
And which character do you play?
I'm the chorus, so you hear my voice incessantly telling people about entrances and exits. It's a little bit of the voice of the author, and a little bit of commentator, and a little bit of a human being who relates his experience to the characters in the play. So there's kind of I don't know, like in music, it's like contrapunctal. It's like it works with the story and it goes a little bit against to bring something else in. But to a certain degree, it's the voice of the author. It's the voice of Murray. So that's, I'm the chorus.
If my viewers decide to come by and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
Well, it's intense. There's a lot of humor in it, but it's a play about a poet during the Revolution who kills himself, and the leader of the Soviet beginnings, Stalin, and the Reign of Terror, and how practically 60 million people died. So it's not it doesn't poke fun at anything, but it evokes a little bit of the consciousness of how difficult it can be to be a human being, and also that it brings out how dark things can get. I think it's a reminder that we can't fall asleep at the wheel. So there is a little bit of that in the experience of being an audience member. There is a little work that's asked for in the audience. It's not a lot. It's certainly entertaining, but there is some work. Yeah.
I thought it was fantastic. I love the piece. I heard another critic describe it as being a radio play because, again, there's very little action, not that much movement, a lot of dialogue, a lot of good voices, a lot of deep thinking too.
Well, absolutely. I think that hits it on the head in terms of the practicals. I think if you're an audience member and you come and you take that in mind, it's going to nail it. Beyond that, though, is the idea that we all as human beings go in circles, and we'll have a good period of life and we'll think that's the way it is, and then it dips, and so a little bit of the play, I think, is about not forgetting the past, because then we'll be forced to repeat it. But yes, in terms of what an audience member physically should expect, I think you just nailed it. Yeah.
I loved your performance. Again, it's a lot like the interview you were doing right now. It's very elaborate, very explanative, very clear, very deep, and very descriptive.
Oh, well, I'm so happy to meet you. Thank you. I'm so glad you're here, and it's incredible to have this kind of interaction with you and with the public, and I don't know, it's just great to have you here, so thank you.
Okay. Once again, I love the performance. I loved your performance also. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Casey McKinnon, and I'm playing Nadja in Mayakovsky and Stalin, and I'm originally from Canada and studied at RADA. I'm so happy to be here right now.
Great, and which character do you play?
Nadia. She's a very complex character. I went through a lot of study of the real person's historical background. I have a long list of problems that she suffered from. I think that she was probably bipolar, but they thought she was schizophrenic. She had an abortion, so she suffered from terrible pains in her abdomen and chronic pain in her head. So, I mean, there was a lot of things wrong with her, and it was made worse by the fact that she was married to Stalin.
I really love the way you played it. She actually had so much backbone to her. She would go up to Stalin and just tell him the truth. That, when he was doing something wrong, he was saying, "This is just insane. You're doing something wrong." Very honest, and also didn't let down. Wasn't afraid of him, intimidated by him, or let him lie to her. I just love that character.
Thank you. She's a revolutionary like him. She was very, very young when the revolution happened. She was 17 when they got married, and so I brought that to the character because I grew up a punk, and at this day and age where we're dealing with a lot of stuff happening, there's a lot of wrong things happening in our world, and politics are a mess. I'm starting to bring that punk out of me again, and I think that that's what happened to her in her older life, that she sort of saw that things were not working out in the way that she had hoped with the revolution, and that Stalin is a dictator, and it's not equal. It's not the communism that she envisioned. So I think she is very smart, and just everything, it was a tempest of problems that led to her suicide.
If my viewers decide to come by and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
Wow. It's just a really interesting historical study with beautiful projections and some of my favorite actors who I've ever worked with.
I thought it was very poetic also. That basically, again, very rich in ideas too, about philosophy, about existence, about, about politics, and even about corruption. And actually, even about religion. It talked a lot about religion. That was just very honestly done.
Absolutely. I think that it touches on a lot of points that we're seeing in our society right now. And it's funny that it's about Russia and the Soviets, and we're seeing Russia. So it doesn't have to do with that Russia. What it has to do is we're looking at ourselves. We're looking at America.
Once again, I really loved your performance. I loved the performance as a whole also. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. And I'm here with
Andy Hirsch. I've been acting for a long time. Grew up in Chicago, and thrilled to be part of Mayakovsky and Stalin, which is a wonderful historical play that has a rhythm and a mind all of its own. So if you like thinking theater, it's definitely the play for you.
And which character did you play?
I play a character named Osip Brick, who was he was an artist, he was an actor, an editor, a publisher, a writer. He was a free thinker and part of the futurist movement. He believed that if he loved someone, it was all about him, and they were free to do whatever they wanted.
He was an interesting character because, again, his wife was having an affair. Well, I wouldn't call it an affair because it was right in front of him with a poet, and again, he was kind of like, he was okay with it.
He was, and I think he was sincerely okay with it. It was considered, it was kind of a menage a trois. Although the two guys were dear friends, they weren't involved romantically. But I think also at that point of the marriage, I don't think Lily and Osip were involved romantically. And while they remained friends for the rest of their lives, they did not remain married after Mayakovsky's death. He, in fact, was actually, according to the research I've done, he was actually remarried, I think, before he and Lily were officially divorced.
If my viewers decide to come by and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
I think that an audience will see a lot of history. It's overlapping history. There's kind of two parallel stories about the Russian Revolution and Stalin and this poet of who we mentioned, Mayakovsky. They only overlap a little bit. The common thread, other than Russia in the 1900s, is the fact that Stalin's second wife, Nadja, committed suicide, and the poet Mayakovsky also committed suicide. So it's really a character study of the two of them and everything that surrounded them. Their relationships, the culture, the Russian Revolution, and everything that was going on in Russia. It echoes to our times. I think that if you come and see this show, you'll think a lot about what's going on in the United States right now and some of the problems that are similar in history, unfortunately, repeating itself.
Yeah, I actually think the reason that they both committed suicide was the same reason. It was actually, they had these ideals, and the ideals just were not real. I mean, when it fleshed out, it wasn't what they expected would happen, and that's what they based their entire passion, their entire desires about, and that's basically why they committed suicide.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. They couldn't live in the imperfect world with the way that they wanted to strive for, something that's better. They couldn't reconcile the imperfections of their own as well as the world surrounding them. And it really seems like they were both prisoners in their own mind.
Well, I love the way you performed because, again, you were kind of detached, but again, you were involved. You connected with the audience. You connected with the material. And again, the actors in general were fantastic. They were wonderful.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I think it's an extremely talented cast. It's a very seasoned cast. These are all actors who've been at it for a while and have had many successes in their own rights through the years, and are also more importantly wonderful people. And it allows us to form a really strong ensemble that supports each other and hopefully does justice to Murray's new play.
Once again, I really loved the performance. I loved your performance also. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. And I'm here with...
Hi, I'm Alexis Boozer-Sterling. First of all, I'm married to Maury Sterling, who plays the lead, Stalin. I've lived in LA for 12 years. I got a BA in drama and political science from Stanford. And this is not my first rodeo with Russian theater drama. I did a world premiere tour through Russia with a show back in 2001. So it's a familiar territory. One of my favorite subject matters, as depressing and dark as it is.
And which character do you play?
I play Elsa. I play the sister of Lily, who was Mayakovsky's muse.
What's your take on Elsa?
I think she's a little bit of the voice of reason. I think she understands, especially her sister's fascination with Mayakovsky and how caught up she is with the revolution, but I think she also sees that it's a bit of a dead end as an artist.
If my viewers decide to come by and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
It's not very cheerful. I think it's a really deft piece, though, in terms of what Murray Mednick has done with the staging of it, how he's woven two stories that actually don't technically intersect in terms of the characters necessarily, but how he's woven it together to sort of really talk about how a similar movement doomed people in different ways.
I love the play. I love the play. It was fantastic. It reminded me a little bit about the French existentialists. They're actually very depressed people.
Sure.
I mean, it's incredibly intellectual. They're kind of going through, I guess, brain overload with, the existence of oneself, the existence of everything. But it leads them to be very depressed, and that's what this play kind of got to me. It was a depressing play because there was so much hope, but there was so much reality to it, and they realized we're the cause. We're the reason why things are being destroyed is because of us, and we can't help ourselves.
I think that's a beautiful interpretation of what's happening, for sure.
Well, I really loved the performance. I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was artistically done. It was historical. It was educational. I felt it actually more intelligent leaving than when I came in.
Then we did our job. I think that's exactly what Murray wants out of his audience. So,
right. Once again, I love your performance. I love the play. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. And I'm here with...
Hi, I'm Rhonda Aldrich, and I'm in Mayakovsky and Stalin, and produced by Padua Playwrights. And we opened tonight. Yay!
And which character do you play?
Oh, I play Yelena. I play Lily's mother. My take on Yelena is that she's a very practical woman who takes care of business. Her daughter needs to have an abortion in a period of time where you would have to be very progressive to do that, and she's on top of it and ready to do what she needs to do to take care of her daughter.
I love this piece. First of all, a lot of really deep characters, even the ensemble members, that brought a lot of tension, a lot of drama to everything.
It's a great group of actors. I'm so happy working with all these people. There's not a single weak person in the bunch, and everybody works together really well, and I think that's what this piece needs, is a great ensemble enjoyable, and I think it shows the work that we've put in together.
If my viewers decide to come by and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
You should expect to see really interesting acting with some really interesting sound and lights and projections behind it, and it's very stylized, and it's a great story.
I thought it was very poetic. It was very existentialistic. I mean, it talked about philosophy, talked about politics, talked about building the world order, talked about religion too, especially your character, which did it all very respectfully. Even though it's about the Russian Revolution, it didn't feel like it was propaganda.
Mayakovsky and Stalin will be playing at the Lounge Theater from July 21st to August 19th. For more information, go to www.plays411.com/Stalin.